As part of the 10-year anniversary of Elizabeth Gaskell's house opening to the public, we wanted to have a writer's residency that was specifically targeted at young writers as a way to engage a new audience. The 3 writers are all part of the writing squad. We specifically wanted writers who hadn't engaged with Elizabeth Gaskell on any level, hadn't visited the house, hadn't actually read any of her works. This was our opportunity to get a different and fresh perspective.
I think I was just always writing as a young kid, without really realising that I was doing that. I was always coming up with plays and little things. I was always forcing my cousins and brother to act in things with me. And then I started properly focusing on writing towards the end of my degree at the University of Manchester. And that's when I started considering that it might be something I wanted to do professionally.
I've always liked reading, so then I was just writing my own little stories about the characters in those books, then writing my own little stories about kind of anything. And then I guess writing more seriously was probably about 4 years ago. I used to do a different degree, lived in a completely different city, and then just started writing more and more and realised I was in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, and then I've ended up here.
I started writing when I was 9 years old. And I would win mini young people's competitions, and then I kept doing it and then joined some writing collectives. I knew nothing about Elizabeth Gaskell actually, which was really exciting for me because I wanted to learn about this really important writer who was a feminist writer even though she predated the feminist movement.
So I have done a series of short stories kind of all around the house, so and throughout time. So my piece is split into 3 pieces.
So this poem is called Writing, and it's about imagination and how inspiring this house is, how people have come to this house and been inspired. I use a feather to write a bird, to make paper become the sky. I conjure the woods from my notebook, blue flowers on the walls, the scent of pink vodka. Students stumble down the halls, dance to Afro beats in the basement. Here, Elizabeth wrote Cranford. Stories travel through the floorboards. Visitors enter, writers, mothers, wives and daughters.
So I've been spending a lot of time in the house. I really enjoyed just trying to get a feel for what it might have felt like to live here. It's a really warm space and I really enjoyed that. And then I've read I really got into Elizabeth Gaskell's letters, I think just because I'm very nosy. So I liked, and she just wrote so many letters. She was writing all the time and it made me think a lot about how we communicate now, which then made me think about things like voice notes and texting and stuff like that. And then I got into how Elizabeth responded to Charlotte Bronte's death, and I thought a lot about that, and that's kind of where I then started my piece.
The project has gone amazingly well. This is something I wanted to do at Elizabeth Gaskell's house for such a long time, but what I couldn't have planned for was just how amazingly enthusiastic, creative and passionate the young writers are.
Elizabeth Gaskell's house has been brilliant. It's just been such an easy project to do. Coming here, you just know this is going to be a perfect place to do a residency, because sometimes they can be difficult. You don't know what you have access to, or people are very protective. Whereas here, there's such a love and a generosity amongst both the people who work here and the people who volunteer here. That's just been a joy for writers to work with.
It feels really lovely to see the house with the work inside it and displayed. I also saw it when it was at the Central Library. I think as a script writer, you either get to see your work stood up on its feet or it sits in a drawer. So this is really lovely to just see it in a space, specifically the space it was written for. I think that's really exciting.
I think it's really helped me improve my writing practice. I think it's helped me look at historical sites in a different way, and the idea of kind of using historical sources to inform what you know of a character and then add your own little touch to it.
I feel like what I would take away from this project is the importance of actually sitting with your creativity, and that I'm going to carry along with me, that you can find interesting creative moments in everyday life. And that's what Elizabeth did. She explored relationships, she explored interpersonal dynamics, she explored politics, and these are all things that exist in our everyday lives. So it's really made my writing more cute, more specific, and I've really zoned in during this few months, and it's been really enriching.
It is incredibly important to engage communities, people, audiences who haven't read Elizabeth Gaskell, because a huge percentage of people haven't read Elizabeth Gaskell, and if we're just relying on that as an organisation to get people through the doors, that isn't enough anymore. We are an inspiring, creative literary house, and we need to get new people in, and it's through projects like this that we can do that.